Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter and welcome to my weekly vlog number 273 for August the 13th, 2024. Almost halfway through the month. Summer's going by very quickly. Too quickly actually. But anyways, we still have some summer, so let's enjoy what we can. And let's take a look at what I've been working on. Now, I said yesterday on my vlog, you see a lot of my quilts each week, the same ones. And the reason being is I give you a little preview on my vlog. I'll sometimes give a preview on So Chatty and point out things on So Chatty that have to do with the topic we might be dealing with on So Chatty. And I thought, well, a little bit too much. But apparently you like that, seeing them on that regular schedule. So, okay, I'll continue to do so. So this one, Underground Railroad, from the book Underground Railroad, that Stephanie has been doing a sew along with. Now this is completely finished, but I want to point out some things to you about this one. First of all, I enjoyed doing these blocks. They were a lot of fun. Two of the blocks, the one with the circle, that looks sort of like a semi-Dresden, but it's not, and the Drunkard's Path version. Those two I didn't think I was going to like because they were applique. Actually, I don't mind applique once I get going with it. I think the part about applique I don't like is having to cut out the pieces, and fusing them and all of that. I know that you can get pre-cut applique pieces that already have the fusing on them and they're laser cut. But I don't really enjoy doing the cutting. Although once I get into it, I'm okay. Like a lot of things, right, that we do. But anyways, I did all 15 blocks that were in that series. Now, with 15 blocks, it does make a very skinny quilt if you were just to leave it that way. Now, of course, I added sashing in the cornerstones. I could have made more of the blocks if I'd wanted to. There is one block that I'd really like to make an entire quilt out of, and that's the one right down here. I don't know if you'll be able to see my arrow, but right down here in the very bottom right-hand corner, this one with the star in the center, I really like that block. And that's one, maybe I'll someday make an entire quilt out of that one. I'm not even sure what that block is called now because I don't have the book handy to me. But yeah, I think that would make a fantastic quilt. Maybe doing each block a slightly different color, or, stick to maybe 3 colors, whatever. I don't know, but I really like doing that block. So, what else about this quilt? Well, when I got all the blocks and the sashing done, I looked at it and I thought, this is still too skinny. And I had plans, well, I still have the plans for this quilt. I want to give it to as a gift to a friend of mine who loves anything that looks vintage or antique, and I think this one fits the bill for that. So that he is going to get. I did quilt it, I did do it on Lucy, and I did use Quilt Path, but I did custom quilting. And what I mean by that, and let's see, can I blow this up a little bit more? Okay. Each block, well, not every other block, has a different pattern in it. So for example, let's call this one pattern 1 in this block, pattern 2 here, pattern 1, and then in the next row I went to pattern 2, pattern 1, pattern 2. You get the idea. I also did custom quilting in the sashing, and I did feathers. I had a little problem with the borders, however. It's very hard to see in this picture, I know. But I did create a border up here that was a 3 lines of swirls, and the swirls were turned in such a way that they made a little pattern in the center. I don't think I can make that any clearer for you. Let's just, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Get rid of those. Yeah, you really can't see it. If you look really hard in here, you can. And that was fine. But then I had a problem, and the problem was, what was I going to do here in the side borders? Now, this is a problem with Quilt Path. Quilt Path doesn't allow you to set up a side border in the same manner as you set up a top border. I would have liked to use the same pattern that I had in the top border along the sides. But the only way I could have done that was to actually physically remove the quilt from the long arm, turned it so it was horizontal, and then did it that way. And, you know, I didn't really want to take the quilt off the long arm to do that. So I treated this like it was a block in here. And I did the feathers again, but I made them a little bigger, and they went all the way down to the bottom of the quilt. And lucky for me, it worked out so that the, oops, come back, oops, okay, it's back. Down here in the bottom border, geez, I'm having a lot of problem here with this. I want to do the same thing as in the top border. And guess what? I had saved it. I could have just picked it up out of Quilt Path, dropped it in there, and it would have been the same. Probably would have had to have flipped it 180 degrees, but that was fine. I couldn't find it. And then, I'm telling you, this memory of mine, I thought, well, maybe I didn't save it. Because there was a lot going on between the top of that, the top of the quilt as I was quilting it and getting down to the bottom. So I tried to recreate it, and I didn't do it very well. It is the same pattern, but the pattern is not the right size. And so it's different in the bottom. Now, when you see the quilt in real life, and if you did not know that I had done that, you wouldn't know I had done that. When I give it to my friend, I am going to point out my flaws. There are some other flaws that will not show up here in this picture. They're very, very small, but Lucy gave me a problem. When I get to the bottom of one of these blocks, the pattern would sort of square off. It would do a couple of longer stitches and then carry on with the rest of the pattern. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me why it was doing that. I was thinking, was it the way that I set up the block, the diameter of the block? It didn't make sense. It was almost like the pattern couldn't go any further. It was at the bottom, and it wasn't. So that was very frustrating. I pulled out some stitches several times and did some readjustments. That didn't seem to work. Long story short, because I've already told you the story, I needed a new cable for the encoder. Once I got the new cable with the encoder, there was no problem. So this quilt definitely has a history in its making. And when I give it to my friend, I will point these things out. I will tell him about it. Now, I know he will still love the quilt, and I suppose in some ways this makes the quilt very unique. Kind of like it is an antique, because antique quilts, done all by hand, were not absolutely perfect. So, well, that's my story, and I'm sticking to that. Okay, the other thing that I finished up was Stephanie's Pinwheel Picnic. This is the one that she did on the virtual retreat she did with Shannon there about, 6 weeks ago or less. And I've got it all quilted now. Walter does not believe me when I told him I purposely picked the quilting pattern to represent wind blowing in the windmills. I actually did, but he doesn't believe me at all. But I did. Okay, I am not telling a falsehood here. I actually did that. Anyways, I like how it turned out. It's not a huge quilt, but it was fun. It was a neat block to make. I enjoyed working on this one as well. So that means I am pretty much all caught up on the quilts I needed to get quilted from Lucy. I went from 7 to 0. Well, that's not completely true because I have another one sitting out by Lucy now, my Halloween quilt, which I haven't really told you much about. And you'll probably get a chance to see it maybe next week. I had to order some fabric that I want to use for the backing on it. It's supposed to arrive today, and then I'll get it on Lucy, and that one will be done, and we'll talk about that later. The one in the background that's hanging on my design wall that you can see a part of right now is an experimental quilt, and I'm going to be talking about this on during our next episode of So Chatty at the end of this week on Friday, because this quilt I made completely on my serger. Yeah. And you know, we've been doing a series about using our sergers and our cover stitch machines, and I have never made a quilt on a serger. Didn't believe it could be done. And I'll just let you in on a little hint here, and I still don't believe it can be done. Well, it can be done, but do you want to? We'll talk. We'll talk about that on So Chatty on Friday. Okay, so what's coming up? What's happening? Well, sewing with Stephanie and Stephen. Last Wednesday, we were without Stephanie because she was down in Texas at Stitch in Heaven for a retreat with Rob Appel. And if you've seen her video showing what that was like, talk about being jealous. Wow, some facility for sure, that Stitch in Heaven. And I know that Stephanie had a really, really good time, and I'm looking forward to talking to her about it even further. But it looked fantastic, the facility. This week, Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen will be minus me, because Walter and I are going into Toronto tomorrow, Wednesday, to see the quilt show or quilt display at the Royal Ontario Museum, which we know in Canada as the ROM. I didn't even know they had quilts in their collection, but they have pulled out quilts in their collection and they're being set up. They're going to talk about their historical significance and other stories about them. And I'm really looking forward to getting some footage of that to show you as well. So we're going in with a couple of sewing buddies of Walter's from his garment sewing class. And yeah, and the show's on for a while, but that was the only day that these other two people could go. So yeah, I may call in to the sewing thing tomorrow. Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen tomorrow. I don't know. Depends on the technology and how cooperative it will be wherever I am. But anyway, so it's without me. Now, how does this affect you that are planning to attend the Sew Day or our regulars? Different Zoom link. I have the Zoom link in the show notes below for you, but it is different from the one we usually use. We usually have the same Zoom link every week. But because both Stephanie and I have accounts on Zoom, we cannot set it up in such a way that we can use each other's setup. So Stephanie has created a new Zoom link, and she will have it also posted in her videos this week. Well, it's already there probably. In her about, I think she puts it in her about section. Mine's just in the show notes below the video. So they're there. That's the one to use. Now, if you have been saving the link that we usually use, don't click on that because it won't get you anywhere. This week, you can go back to it next week. Are you totally confused? Sorry. Yeah, that was my plan, to totally confuse you. And I think I've done it. Okay, so that takes me to some shopping that I did. Kawartha Quilting in Bethany, Ontario, which is about 40 minutes, less than 40, maybe about half an hour north of me. You've heard me talk about Kawartha Quilting many times before. They were having a big sale. And in fact, at 10 o'clock last Tuesday night, Walter said, email just came through from Kawartha Quilting. They're having a big sale on fabric. I grabbed my phone, started looking at stuff, and I wasn't going to order anything from bed. I was going to wait till the next day, but I'm glad I did it in advance because stuff went fast. What you see in front of you right now is backing fabric. I can always use more backing fabric. I always buy 3 meters of wide backing fabric. And you know it's pricey. And Kawartha Quilting does not have the best prices on backing fabric, I can tell you that. I love Kawartha Quilting, but their prices on backing fabric are on the upper end. They usually range anywhere from about $32 to $39 a meter. That's a lot. But they had them on sale, and it was, I think, 25% off. Yeah, I think it was about that. Anyways, and there's various prices, and I got a lot of these at $22.99 a meter. So I bought 6 or 18 meters of backing fabric, and you can see all the different ones that I got right here. So that was a great find. But they also had, regular size fabric on sale as well, and some of it was 50% off. And so I nailed some of these right here. And I purposely picked ones that had colors that I could use as blenders, as backgrounds, kind of a thing. And I think about, let's see, I always buy 2 meters of any fabric that I buy that isn't backing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 18 meters of regular width fabric as well. Now, there was some of the fabric that got priced incorrectly, as I found out. In fact, Philippa, one of the owners of Kawartha Quilting, said to me, "You lucked out." And I said, "Why?" She says, "We priced the canvas, Northcott's canvas, wrong." And I thought it was too good of a price to bypass, because I think it was like, it worked out to, it was about $7 a meter. Oh my God. And remember, my American friends out there, I'm talking Canadian dollars here, okay? Not American dollars. So that is a fantastic price. I should have bought more, but I didn't. But anyways, yeah, I guess they caught it after I put in my order. I think there might have been two of us that had ordered that fabric at that price, and yeah, then they put it to the price that it should have been. Shouldn't have been 50%, or should have been only 25%, I think, not 50% or whatever. But either way, I here's a good example of the expression I often use: you snooze, you lose. I almost snoozed, I almost lost. I didn't snooze, I got it. So yeah, very happy about that. And yeah, I did buy some threads, Glide, when I was up there. Glide is what I use for my long arm. And I had a list of ones that, it was more of a less to buy some replenishing threads. I don't have them here to show you their thread. But they had those on sale too. I think it was 25% off. So it was a good sale. And when we got up there to pick up our order, and we did that on Thursday of last week, the store was packed. The sale, I think they were doing really well. I have a feeling they were trying to make room for all the new stuff that's coming in for the fall and Christmas and Halloween and all of that. But I think it was a very successful sale, if that was their point of having it. People were going out of there with armloads. So yeah, I loved it. I was in my element. And just going to show you something else. Speaking of fabric storage, I made this. Now, you have seen my dragons that I've been making on my 3D printer, and you have seen my scrap buckets that look like a giant thimble. I combined the two. I put the dragons on my bucket, and it looks really cool. And I decided, hey, I want this as a display object in my sewing room. So I rolled up some Halloween fabric that I had and shoved it in the bucket. And I might switch out every now and then the fabrics that are in it for some variety, but it's just one of those little mindless little tchotchkes that I make on my 3D printer, but I think it's cute. Okay, come back to me, and let's talk about the subscribers quilt of the week. This one comes from Sue McKeehan. She has sent us pictures of her quilts before. They're always lovely, and here is another one for you to enjoy. This week's quote from a subscriber comes from Sue McKinnon, and Sue sent us this picture of this really beautiful bed quilt, and she has it all laid out on display on her bed, and it has kind of an unusual background. Well, at least it's a little unusual for me because I never do backgrounds in this color, but maybe I should. Maybe I should use black more because it really makes the colors in her quilt pop. But she calls this Churns and Chains, and this was a sew along done with so much more. It's a king size with extra on the side, so it comes out to 118 by 125. That is a mammoth quilt. Now, she doesn't say here how she quilted it, whether she did it herself or she sent it out to a long armor or what. But either way, that is a mammoth quilt to have to quilt. But it came out absolutely gorgeous. And I really like how the churn dash block at the bottom third of the quilt just hangs beautifully and on the bed itself. She says it's her first quilt with black background, and the color choices and placement were a challenge for her. But I think you did a wonderful job of this, and the black, as I said, really makes your colors pop. So well done, Sue. Beautiful quilt. You should be proud. And that takes us to the YouTube channel of or the YouTube video of the week. This is, of course, the Festival of Quilts 2024 in Birmingham, England, one of the best quilting shows, from what I've heard, in the world. And sorry, Americans, people do have quilt shows outside of the United States. Okay. And yeah, the gorgeousness of the quilts. I am not worthy. These quilts are just blow your mind. So here's my review of that clip. This week's YouTube of the week is one that's based on a quilt show, a very famous quilt show that happens in Birmingham, England once a year, and it's called the Festival of Quilts. And this particular video is very well done by the person who produced it, the Craft House Magic. I'm not familiar with that channel. I may have to check it out further. However, she's done a wonderful job of giving you a real look at pretty much all of the quilts in the festival, and I found the quilts that she showed were just mind-blowing. It's amazing what these quilters, these master quilters, are able to do, and I wish I was at that level, but I don't think I'll ever be at that level. But anyways, if you love quilt shows, and this is one of the best in the world, then you need to check out this video, Festival of Quilts 2024, and the link for it is in the show notes below. So if you haven't already, you definitely need to check out the Birmingham Quilt Festival, or Festival of Quilts. Okay, future projects. Well, I've already alluded to this one, and I'm hoping to be able to show it next week. I'm hoping to have it done by this time next week. It's called Pumpkin Parade by Stephanie Stitches, and here's the pattern. This week's future project is one that was created by my friend Stephanie of Stephanie Stitches, and it's called Pumpkin Parade. And I fell in love with this when I saw how untraditional to Halloween it's really about. Well, it's not really a Halloween quilt as much as it's a fall quilt, but these colors are definitely different for fall. And it looks like a wonderful block to work on. It looks like it's probably fairly simple, but looks very complex. And this is kind of a signature type of block for Stephanie. Her quilts are gorgeous. They look complicated, but her instructions are absolutely clear, very easy to follow, and you can make beautiful final products with any of her designs. But this one I'm really looking forward to, and I have my fabric already picked out for this. I have some gnome Halloween fabric that I think is going to look great in this, and I've been dying to use that fabric, but I've been hanging on to it until I found the perfect pattern for that, and I think I have found it here with Stephanie's Pumpkin Parade. So I'm really looking forward to making this very soon, and if you'd like to get a copy of this pattern as well, I have put the link to Stephanie's Etsy shop in below. It is a downloadable pattern, so you don't have to wait for it to be sent out to you in the mail, and very reasonable price. You can see here that's the Canadian price. The American price is somewhat lower than that. So check it out, and check out while you're on Stephanie's Etsy shop, check out all her other patterns as well, because she has quite a few, and I have made a number of them and never had a problem yet with any of them. They're so well written. So that's Pumpkin Parade. Can't wait to get to it. And that was another fun quilt I enjoyed doing. Stephanie's patterns are always great, always easy to follow, always beautiful, the end result. So if you've never tried a Stephanie Stitches pattern, this might be one you might want to do for this Halloween. And I've put the link for it in the show notes below to Stephanie's Etsy shop. And while you're there, you should check out some of her other patterns and goodies that she has. Okay, so I have an interview. Yes, I have not done an interview in quite a while. One of my subscribers suggested this individual to me. I checked out this person's YouTube channel and website and decided, oh yes, this is going to be someone that I want to speak with. His name is Cole Whitaker. He is an art quilter and just a really interesting individual, as you'll find when you see the interview. But here's a little teaser that I've put up here from my interview with Cole. What was it about quilting that made you switch over, or are you still doing garment sewing as well?
I don't do a lot of garment stuff. So my grandmother also sewed clothes, and she would sew clothes for all her grandchildren. And so she taught me. And I remember one summer I learned how to make shorts, and I made shorts for like a bunch of our cousins. Um, and I actually thought about going into fashion design when I was younger, um, but ended up going into cosmetology and becoming a hairstylist. So because I had done it here and there, I kind of stopped doing it as much because two reasons. One, it used to be cheaper to make clothes,
Mm-hmm.
and then it got to the point where it wasn't because the
Right.
fabric's so expensive. And two, I really liked making dresses, but I didn't know a lot of people that wanted to wear dresses. So it was kind of like, who am I making this for? I don't know.
Right.
So then it ended up like if I had someone and they were like saying they needed a specific thing, I would be like, well, if you want, I can do that for you. So it's just been sporadically here and there. But quilting, the reason why I love quilting is because I've always been really artistic and creative, but I like practical things. So like I went through phases where I would paint and it was fun, but you just have a bunch of paintings and what do you do with them? I
Right.
mean, yeah, you could hang them up on the wall, but a quilt is something you can use.
So by the time you see today's episode, that interview should be live on my channel. So I hope you'll check it out, and I hope you'll go off and support Cole by taking a look at his YouTube channel. His subscriber base is only around 2,000 plus subscribers, so I'm hoping that many of you will want to subscribe to him as well. And do check out his website. It's very, very interesting and lots of resources there as well. Okay, that takes me to online quilt stores. I'm starting to get to the bottom of the barrel as far as quilt stores in Ontario are concerned and across Canada. This one I came across, and it's called Cotton Country, and it's out in Newfoundland. And by the way, if you know of some quilt stores that I haven't reviewed already that are in Canada, I'm only doing Canadian ones at this moment in time. Please just send it along to me and I'll see if I've done it before. I keep a list. And if I haven't, then I will. I will review it. But in the meantime, here's Cotton Country. This week's online quilt store is called Cotton Country, and I don't think I've ever reviewed this one before. I don't remember doing it, and it's not in my list. I do keep a list of the ones that I've done. So if even if I have, it must have been some time ago. So we may be revisiting it. Anyways, let's jump into it and see what they have. This is their front page, Cotton Country. Not sure where they're located. We'll see if we can find that in a minute. They've got a row by row experience 2023. That's a little old. Okay, that's not giving me a good look here. When I see something that's from the past, one makes me wonder whether or not they keep up with their website. So we'll see. Um, I wonder where they're located. Does it tell me here? Conception Bay Highway, Clark's Beach. Oh, it's in Newfoundland. Okay. So it's a little bit of ways on the other side of the country. Okay, so let's check this out. Let's go right into fabric and see what we have. Okay, all fabric, shot by collection, shot by manufacturer, pre-cuts and wide backings. And here on the left-hand side, they show you the product categories. They have about 854 fabrics to choose from. They do have Northcott, Moda, Wellington Prince, Riley Blake, Henry Glass, Timeless Treasures, Patrick Loss, and etc. Maywood Studios, Cutie Fabrics. They've got a wide selection. Some have less than others. Northcott, they've got quite a bit of Northcott. So let's jump into Northcott, since they are a Canadian company, and see what we have. So right off the bat, prices seem to vary from $15.95 to $22.95. Oh, sorry, that's backing, so that's probably wide back. We'll check that out a little bit more. So it looks like it's $15.95. I'm assuming a meter. Quite a bit of Northcott to pick from. I love Northcott fabrics. So let's just pick this first one here. Yes, it is by the meter, $15.95. That is a really good price. A really good price. In fact, I can't get that price at my local quilt store, and they have really good price on their fabric. So that's impressive. And as I said, it looks like they have a really extensive collection of fabrics. Yeah, so they do have a good selection of some really nice fabrics, I think. Okay, impressed by that. Now, I did see that they had pre-cuts. Let's go back to the home page and back to fabric. Where did I see the pre-cuts? Right here. So let's see what they're offering in pre-cuts. That's pretty. Rainbow sampler, crystals. Uh, Not bad. Prices are about what you'd expect, so no thrill there one way or the other. Not a bad selection. Not extensive, but not bad at all. Okay, so they did have wide backs as well. So let's see. I think they had a separate section for that. No, they didn't. Thought I saw a separate section. Let's go back into fabric. There we go, wide backing. Okay. $22.95 a meter. Darn good price. Yep, that's a really good price per meter for wide back. Let's just go back and take a look at what they have to offer. Not a lot, but that's okay. I kind of like these ones that are here, and they're even less, $21.95. So yeah, prices seem very good. Let's check out patterns, books and notions, or thread. Let's check thread. Hand quilting threads, upholstery thread, natural cotton thread. Okay, it's Gutermann. They have Gutermann. Small rolls, $2.25, which is an okay price. I don't know natural cotton thread. I'm not sure who that is. Is that the name? Oh, that's Gutermann. It's Gutermann. So it looks like they pretty much are exclusively Gutermann threads is what they carry. Okay, let's go back into books and notions. Let's leave what they have as far as patterns are concerned. Oh, some interesting things. Now these are interesting. What are they? 3 on a spree panel and pillow pattern. Um, okay. And it's talking about combos here. Each combo also comes with a bonus Mummers themed applique pattern unique to each design. The Scrapper Mummers pattern and panel combos are a combination originally designed by Ralph Jarvis Mummers panels and Scrappy border patterns. I am not familiar with the term Mummers patterns, so I'm not sure what those are, but and really, okay, that's just a close-up. Is this applique? No, it's a panel. Panels printed 100% premium cotton, measures approximately 10 and a quarter by 10 and a quarter. They're machine washable using cool water, tumble dry, buy one or collect all 9. Okay, so this is something a little bit different. Not what I would consider, a pattern, but yeah. So they do have some other patterns here. They have 4 pages of them, so and their patterns seem to run around $12, which is a little less than what you usually pay in a quilt store that I have found. So okay, there's some things there to look through. Well, they have some free patterns though too. Ooh, Timber Gnomes quilt number 1. I had that panel, and that's a freebie as well. Might be worth checking these out a little further. I don't know if I've got any of that panel left or not. Um, and that one. But okay, so yeah, the free patterns look like fun. They appeal to me, of course, because there's gnomes. Let's see, sunny sunflowers. Yeah, it looks like these are based on panels, but that one's kind of interesting. That'll be adaptable to whatever you have as well. So, free patterns are free patterns. They're good to have. All right, let's go back here. That was patterns. Tips and tricks. Tin buckets, stand. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. Adds another dimension to your experience on their website. Kits, row by row. So they have a few kits. Nothing here that's really yelling at me I must have. Threads, books, patterns, notions, and gifts. Some cute buttons. Pen, smart box, needle threader, scissors. Okay, the usual kind of things you'd expect in Notions. All right, now, do they have classes? It doesn't look like it. So nothing in this section at all about classes. So, okay. So this is an interesting site. I think their prices on their fabric are very good. Didn't check about shipping. Let's see, shipping policy. Here we go. It's Canada Post. So it's $5 up to $15, up to $75, $10, up to $150, $15, and orders exceeding $150, shipping is free. Okay, so that's not bad either. So very reasonable prices. I think this is one online quilt store that you might want to check out. I think there's some things here to be purchased, and that's called Cotton Country. So that brings me to the end of the episode. As I said, we're off to the quilt show tomorrow at the Royal Ontario Museum. Looking forward to that, and I hope to have footage of all of that for you next week. And very advanced notice. I am working on my fall retreat. It will be in October, the middle of October. Now, I discussed dates on Stephen and Walter Live, and for the life of me, I'm not sure what those dates are. I know it's going to probably be the Saturday after the weekend of Thanksgiving here in Canada, Canadian Thanksgiving. Uh, but right now, I've lined up my presenters, which should be really interesting. And I'm working out the other details. So I will probably talk about it or have things ready for you about registration and all that kind of stuff. It is a free event for anybody that's never been to mine before, but you do have to register for it. But I will let you know when registration opens up and all the details about that. And I will probably start telling you all about it in detail end of this month or the first week in September. So look for my notice about that. It'll be through here, my usual videos on my channel. Okay, think that's it for me today. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you later. Bye for now.